Hi, and welcome to the Savings Maximiser training video, which is part of the Savings Smart video series. This video picks up where Savings Target finishes. You've now determined how much you want to save, either each month or as a lump sum every now and then. And once you've decided that, then use this Savings Maximiser calculator to work out how much money you'll have at the end of the term. Remember, this calculator is for you to download and to use in Excel so that you can use it over and over again. So save your examples and refer back to them at any time. For example, it might be when the interest rate changes, or if you decide that you want to buy something sooner than first planned, or maybe you're given some money towards saving your goal. So let's have a look at the calculator and see what each field represents. Now, there are three sections to this calculator which we'll go through. You have your savings plan inputs, the summary of results, and the yearly summary. First one is saving plan inputs. Now, under this, you have years to invest, and here you simply enter in how many years that you expect to have your savings for. Initial investment means the amount that you are starting out with. Next, we have expected annual interest rate. And here you enter in the interest rate or the earnings rate that you expect to make on your money. So the rate will be different for everyone, as it's going to depend on where you invest your money. For example, if you're holding your money in a bank account, it might be only earning 5% a year. However, if you have your funds in a more aggressive account that's designed to generate growth, such as shares, then the interest rate might be 8 or 10%. Here are a few other points I'd just like to make under expected annual interest rate. Now, we suggest that you seek professional financial planning advice to find out what investment option is right for you, because it's going to be based on your needs and objectives, and then you can enter in that recommended rate of return that your financial planner gives you. Another option, if you're looking for other investments besides cash, is to read the product disclosure statement of that product and look at the expected annual rates of return that they give you. Also, this spreadsheet assumes a fixed annual interest rate, and the interest is compounding according to the deposit frequency that you choose. So, for example, if you're depositing money into your account each month, then the interest will be compounded on a monthly basis. So back to the calculator, let's look at deposit amount. This is where you enter in how much money that you intend to put into the investment, and it's based on the deposits per year. And the deposits per year basically means how many times that you expect to make these deposits each year. So they can either be yearly, half yearly, quarterly, monthly, fortnightly, weekly, or daily. And the last one is additional annual investments. So you enter an amount here if you expect to receive a lump sum from somewhere else which you'll contribute to your investment. So for example, let's say that you expect to receive a bonus of $1,000 and you want to put it into your investment. It could also be birthday or Christmas money. Let's have a look at an example. Looking back at Grace from the previous training in Savings Target, Grace was 16 years old and she was saving for a holiday to Fiji. Assuming that after saving for 2 years, so Grace is now 18, and seeing all of the money in her bank account build up, she decides to put her trip to Fiji on hold, and she wants to go to schoolies instead on the Gold Coast. This will only cost her $2,000 for the week, and so she wants to look at setting up a new Next Goals account, which she's going to title House Deposit, where she'll put her remaining $3,000 from her $5,000 savings into this account, because she wants to save for a house deposit to buy a house when she's 25 years old. Also, the investment that Grace is deciding to put the money into is going to give her a 6.5% interest rate per year. So looking at the calculator, here you can see that we've put under years to invest 7, and that's because she's 18 at the moment and she wants to have this money by the time she's 25, so that's 7 years. She's starting with $3,000. The expected annual interest rate is 6.5%. And Grace also wants to continue putting in her $200 a month every month into this investment. So deposit amount is $200, deposits per year is 12. The second section of this calculator is a summary of results. So value after 0 or X years. Now this is the total amount invested at the rate of return based on the number of years that you entered. And I'll show this to you when we use an example of what that actually means. Totally invested is how much you actually contributed yourself, and interest earned is what the investment made on itself. So this is a great illustration to show you that money works so much harder for you than you'll actually do for it. So looking back at Grace's example, you can see now it's got value after 7 years because the 7 is based on how many years to invest, and that's actually worth $25,925.40. Of this money, Grace had invested $19,800 herself, and so her investment made $6,125.40. The last section of the calculator is the yearly summary. So the first column is the rate, which is the estimated annual interest rate. So if you want to enter a different rate for each year, such as a negative value for a particularly bad year, then you can enter the value in place of the default formula. But you will need to either undo the change or enter the formula manually if you want to replace the value that you entered with the original formula. So you can manipulate these figures down here if you'd like, but for the purpose of this exercise, I'm not going to change it. I'm just going to assume that it's a constant rate of return of 8%. Scheduled deposits is the total scheduled deposits made this year. Now this includes the deposit amount and the extra annual investments if there is any. So in this case, you can see that Grace is putting in $200 every month for 12 months, so that's $2,400, plus she's going to put in an extra $100 because it could be her birthday money, so that'll make it $2,500. Next column we have the extra annual deposits. So you can enter either a negative amount here to indicate that you plan to make less than the scheduled additional annual investment in a particular year, or you could enter a positive amount to indicate that you plan to make a more sizable contribution in a particular year. So for example, at the moment Grace is putting in $2,500 a year. So under scheduled deposits, that's going to be $2,500 every year for 7 years. But let's say that one particular year Grace gets a bonus of $2,000. So what she would do is under extra annual deposits, she would add in that $2,000. If, say, for example, in 1 year, she could only put in $1,000 instead of $2,500. Then under extra annual deposits, she would put negative $1,500. And last but not least, we have the estimated annual interest. So here, the interest is calculated using the future value formula to account for the contributions that may be made monthly, weekly, etc. within the year. Let's fast forward 7 years and assume that Grace is now 25 years old, and after saving $200 per month, she has a house deposit. Congratulations, Grace! So she's now working full-time, and she meets with a financial planner to look at her long-term investment plan for her wealth account. They agree to start a regular savings plan into a managed fund where she will deposit $1,000 and put $200 per month into the account every month. So let's have a look at what it'd be worth in 10 years' time. So we just go to years to invest and we put in 10 years. Initial investment is $1,000. Now the expected annual interest rate for the managed fund that the financial planner has suggested that Grace goes into is 8.5%. As I mentioned, she's going to continue $200 a month contributions, so $200 and deposits is $12. So after 10 years, the value will be $39,960.33. Of this, she's invested $25,000, so that means her investment has made $14,960.33. Let's have a look at what would happen if she kept it for 20 years. So as you can see, the value is now $100,000 $30,841. Of this, she's invested $49,000, and so her investment has made her $81,841. Let's have a look at one more calculation and see what it'd be worth when Grace is 65, so when in 40 years' time. So again, as you can see, the value is now $837,000 approximately. Of this, she's invested $97,000, and so her investment has made $740,000 approximately. Here's a summary of the 3 different scenarios from the 10, 20 and 40 year time frame the money's been invested in and compounding. As you can see, the longer that you keep your money invested and earning compound interest, the more your money will work for you and generate you more money. And the way you can see this is by looking at the interest earned column. As you can see, the longer that you keep your money invested and earning compound interest, the more your money will work for you and generate you more money. And the way you can see this is by looking at the interest earned column. I mean, it's a massive difference between the 10 years at $14,960 to 40 years of $740,000. Wouldn't you agree? This is a great example of compound interest. Now that you understand how time and the length of time works in the compounding process, one other thing that I'd like to point out that plays a part in the compounding process is the interest rate or rate of return of the investment. As you can see, if I change this interest rate from 8.5% to say 12%, you can see that the value here has increased significantly. Also, if I just reduce that from 8.5% to 5%, you can see that that's reduced significantly as well. When looking at an investment and its rate of return, you have to consider a number of things. How comfortable are you with volatile investments? And what I mean by this is how comfortable will you be if you saw that your investment was worth $1,000 this month and $900 next month? Because generally, investments that provide a higher rate of return have values that go up and down more rapidly over the short term. Over the long term, however, their value increases, but they aren't really suitable for the short term. I suggest that you check out our knowledge base article titled Asset Classes and read it to give you a clearer understanding of what I'm talking about here. Also, that's why it's so important to get great advice from a qualified financial planner, because they will help you in understanding the time frame, the investment return, and the type of investment that you should be looking at investing in. All I'm trying to point out here is how the rate of return can make an impact on how much money you'll end up overall. So that concludes this Savings Maximiser training video. If you have any questions, then please contact us at info@moneytoolkits.com. Otherwise, now it's your turn. Underneath this video, you'll see the Savings Maximiser calculator. Feel free to download it to your computer and enter in your own details. This is Nicole Clemo wishing you and your family health, wealth, and happiness.